ever feel like everyone else has a clear creative identity while you're just a pile of puzzle pieces that don't fit in one box? Maybe you like making lots of things. Maybe you've been told to pick a lane. Or maybe you've tried being a Tide Pod on a shelf. Safe, shiny, marketable. In this episode, we talk with our friend Lizzy McAvoy about what creative authenticity feels like in the body, how to spot self-betrayal, and her super secret magic boundary setting phrase. Lizzy McAvoy is an award-winning singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer who traded the cornfields of Central Ohio for the creative buzz of Nashville. Her songs have been recorded by Jo Dee Messina, Home Free, The Shires, Sondr, and Tenille Arts, whose album, featuring their collaboration titled Butterfly Effect, was nominated for CCMA Album of the Year. You've probably heard her work on Fox, Netflix, fashion campaigns, or even a car commercial without realizing it was her. But despite all that, Lizzy's story is less about glitz and more about grit. She's walked away from the game more than once to preserve her integrity, and she shares candidly about what it cost and what it gave back to her. Buckle up, dear listeners. We're two childhood best friends and a guest talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo! Welcome, Lizzy. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
I'm so honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, so just so all of us can be on the same page, what do you do, Lizzy? What do you do creatively?
So, music-wise, I've been doing music since I was about 4 years old, so I kinda got bit by the bug really early, and then I got into songwriting when I was about 11, and then I've had an almost 20-year career doing
Jeez.
music, professionally. So, it's been a long run, but I moved to Nashville when I was 16 from Ohio, and signed my first deal at 18, and then signed my second deal at 21, and then went independent at 25, and then I've just been independent ever since.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
So that's it in a nutshell. But I also, when you say creative, I also do lots of crafts, home projects. I don't feel like I cannot not be creative. So
Totally.
yeah,
Is music your job?
it was my full-time job for about 15 years, and
Wow.
then it, I now have a corporate 9 to 5er,
Nice.
and I've done a lot of other different things too. I've done wildlife rehabilitation, I've worked on reality television shows in their production department. I did that for almost 4 years, and now I have this cool corporate job. So, I joke that I'm semi-retired from music. So,
Cool.
Nice.
yeah.
Well, that's a lot of stuff. That's awesome. So how do you know Carrie? How did you all meet?
We met through her lovely husband. Uh,
Ooh.
oh my gosh. Through my husband. So basically our husbands united us. Thank
Uh-huh.
goodness. Yeah.
Yes. And we've been doing this thing, just so you know, I don't know if Seth told you this, Lizzy, but just for some context, we have been wanting to be more social because left to our own devices, we will stay in our studios, me down here in my studio and him upstairs in his music recording studio. And
Yeah.
we'll just like make things and and I'll do podcasts every once in a while that I like send out into the world, but then we just won't leave. And we're like, yeah, that we're not super social and we need to change that. So Seth was like, Carrie, I have these people that would be great. Brad and Lizzy. And then he was like, Carrie, because you came over, Lizzy,
I did.
to be on Seth, my husband's podcast, which is called Behind the Act. I will link it in the show notes. Don't worry, dear listener.
Oh yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yes, you came over and I wasn't here. And he, right after that interview, he said, Carrie, drop everything and be Lizzie's friend. You will love her. And then I was like, oh, I think I probably will, but I'm scared. And then he was like, let's invite them over. I have the people. they're going to come over to our house and then we'll be friends. And I was like, okay. And then they came over and I was like, I really like them. And he was like, I know. And look at how social we are. Look at our social. We're so social. And I was like, I
I
know.
love it. I
So
love it.
that's the story of Lizzy and Carrie
Love it.
so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's a budding relationship.
Yes.
We're new to this,
Yes.
but we really like it. It's
Yes.
really, yeah, we really like it.
I'm glad you
Absolutely.
two found each other in a world
Yeah.
where it's so hard to connect.
Yes.
It kind of
It
is.
really actually is.
Yeah.
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 Although maybe, I mean, I agree with that in general, but for some reason, I connect with everybody. Like strangers at the grocery store. My husband jokes about how, like, I just have random conversations with everybody all the time. He's like, "You're a magnet for people." And I'm like, I'm not intending to be these things.
Hmm.
It just happens. Maybe it's like a Midwest thing.
I think
You have
you're
a
very
very
warm.
friendly face too.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so this
thanks.
is a weird question, not planned. What's your weirdest interaction with a stranger that just came up to you and said something?
Ooh.
Oh, okay, I'll give a funny one and I'll give a sad one. I'll start with the sad one and then I'll end with the funny. But the first one was I was in the bread aisle at Publix
Oh.
and this woman and I started talking about bread. And then I don't know how we ended up here, but then she started to tell me about her journey with breast cancer.
Oh wow.
And she, just talking about how her daughters didn't really check up on her very much and it was just really hard. And then she's like, I hope that you never have to go through something like this. Hope you never have breast cancer. So here we are, me and this woman bawling in the
Yep.
bread aisle of Publix.
Yeah.
So that might be like maybe the saddest one, but also very strange. Like we just went from talking about bread to talking about breast cancer.
They both start with B's.
Breh.
But
Breh. Yeah.
BR. BRE.
Yeah. Yeah.
BREA.
yeah,
We're like, you're leading a cheer right now. This is
yeah. Give me a B, B, give me an R, R. Yeah, so that was my strangest one. And saddest. Like just like really,
Yeah.
we went someplace
yeah.
odd.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the other one was I was walking out of Target and this guy just came right up to me and he goes, "You might just be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life." It was not my husband. Just
Oh
I
my
wanna
gosh.
and like, in general, like, the hopeless romantic of me that, like, reads, books and watches chick flicks, I was like, "Oh my god, thank you." But I also was like, "This is weird." Like, first of all, I have no makeup on. I look scary, like, I'm sweating. I'm leaving Target. Also, I'm like, "I'm on a mission here, so let's scoot along, sir." And I was like, very nice. I was like, "Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you." He goes, "I'd really like your number. I'd like to take you out sometime." But then I'm also like, "This is cute, but also I'm getting creeper vibes. Like, what's going on
Oh.
here?" I don't know.
Yeah.
He was he's very nice. He was like my age. It wasn't, like it was totally fine. But it was so funny because so I am just too nice of a person. So I was like, "Here's my number," not
Oh, shoot.
knowing that like you change the last digit or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just too nice, and then I feel bad, like if they end up calling somebody else. And so I was like, "Oh, okay, like whatever." And yeah, so I ended up
Did he
finding out
text you?
yeah, he did. So and he was texting me and I'm going back and forth again. I'm being very nice because I can't help myself. Like again, maybe it's like a Midwest thing. I'm just like I just can't let people down. So here I am, like, "Oh, okay, great." So I tell one of my friends about him, and she goes, "Well, what's his name?" And I tell him his name, and he goes, "Oh yeah, he does that to every girl he sees."
Boo.
No.
Boo.
That just took a cute story. It started cute, it got creepy, and it got just I'm so disappointed in
Yeah,
him.
yeah. So yeah, that happened. And
So
after I found that out, I just kind of, let him down easy. That's what
Yeah.
I did.
yeah. Just like
Yeah.
Homer Simpson into the bushes, like, you know.
Yeah.
Emily, what would you do if somebody out of the blue came up to you and said, "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen"?
Weirdly, I have a similar story. I relate to the have one of those faces things. Carrie, do
Mhm.
you have stories like this of people just saying shit to you?
Of saying you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen?
Just like
Absolutely not.
just a random interaction.
I one time was having a really good conversation with a dude at a bar. And I was in a group of friends and he was talking to me super engaging. And we were just talking about something kind of innocuous or whatever. And then I happened to mention that oh yeah, my husband, just in a passing comment. And he goes, "I'm going to stop you right there. I need to get laid tonight. You are married. You are not going to help me with my goal. So I'm going to end this right now." And he got up and he walked away mid conversation.
Douche.
And while I appreciate the candor,
Mm.
I don't appreciate how inhuman that felt.
Yeah, that's dickish.
So yeah. Anyway.
I know.
I had I had a sad one and a weird one. If it like just so interesting. It must be like we both have kind of like the same
Yeah,
ish
these
shaped face,
You
like
guys
a
are real
friendly,
cute.
like a come
cheeks.
talk to me. Yeah, like with
Yeah.
the I call them cheek balls for myself, but yours
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
like mine. Yeah, look like
Yeah.
balls to me. But um, this was very sad. Uh, I was at Sam's Club back in the day, and I had my little baby, and I put that baby in my little cart, and I was pulling out, and this woman walks up to me, and she says, "Oh, your baby's so beautiful," and I was like, "Oh, thank you," and then she says, "I had twins," and I was like, "Oh my god," and she's like, "They both died."
Oh my
Like,
heavens.
literally, I'm just walking into
Oh
the store
my.
with my little baby, and I was like, "I am so sorry," like and she, like, welled up with tears, and she's like,
Oh.
So
"Treasure your child," and I was
Oh,
like,
Emily.
that's so
"Oh,
sad.
fuck." So that was like, this woman, like, on a bright note, needed to talk to someone and say that to them, and I was like,
Yep.
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm here for that."
Yep.
Mhm.
And that has happened in lines, places, people just start being like, "Here's a really fucked up thing that happened to me," and I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And one time I was in a parking lot and a man walked up to me and said, uh, during the day, my age too, "You know, you look like someone that I really should get to know." And I was like, uh,
Huh.
"Okay, that's in creepy." And he's like, "What if we go have pizza over here?" It was like in a strip mall. He's like, "And that'll be our first date."
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, it's like a Little Caesars." I didn't say that, but it was like creepy. And I said, "You know, I'm kind of busy for a first date, and I have a fiance, but I really wish you luck." Uh, but it was like unassuming, but really creepy. Yeah.
He's not
Yeah.
wrong. You do have a face that people should get to know. But the other part I can't stand behind.
Same.
So
Like, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen," and he says that to all the girls. Like,
Yeah.
Aw. Yeah,
Yeah.
not cute anymore. Ugh.
A
I
Come
should
on.
find
friendly
him on
face.
Yeah, I should find him on Facebook, see how he's what he's up to, see how he's doing.
Dudes, any dudes that are listening to this podcast. I mean anyone
Mhm.
listening to this podcast, maybe get to know her.
Yep.
May, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know how else to help these interactions.
I
I
mean,
don't.
in some ways, if you're not like, "Don't touch me, don't make me feel unsafe,"
Right,
but I'm
right.
like, "Cast the nets." I don't know. It's hard to
Uh,
meet people.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't particularly fault men or women for going for it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're out and you see somebody that's attractive, like, if you don't want to do dating apps and you don't, want to find somebody that's in your circle and you see somebody that's attractive, I mean, I think it's really brave. Would I be able
Okay.
to do it? No, absolutely not. Even though I'm a social butterfly, absolutely not. That's a for sure no for me. But I will say that I feel like my husband kind of did that. I mean, it took him, 6 years to finally rope me in, but for 6 years he was trying. Like he really
Wow.
was. He was giving it a college try, and I really appreciate that. I just was blind, but he went for it.
So then your husband's like set you guys up as friends too. That
Yeah.
they're casting, they're
Yes, they
just,
are.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe I take back what I said. Maybe bravery is the thing. And if you get turned down, maybe that's not the worst thing.
I think if you can accept getting turned down and know that it's not a reflection of you
Yeah,
and know that it's just, maybe that person, they just weren't feeling it or whatever. I don't think
totally.
it's a bad thing at all
Yeah.
because at some point, if you throw spaghetti at the wall, it's gonna stick.
I mean,
At some
hey,
point.
Said like a Italian grandmas everywhere.
Mhm.
yes. Thank you.
Yes. My Italian grandma would be very proud of me right now talking about throwing
Yes.
spaghetti on the
Yes.
wall.
Yes. Well, y'all, I'm so glad we had this conversation
This is
about
good stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I cried, I laughed,
Mhm.
I all the feelings just wrapped up in one conversation. So,
I felt a lot in that
yeah,
moment.
it was good.
I did.
Let's talk about, because we are here today to talk about creative authenticity and being authentic to ourselves. I I got to ask you, Lizzy, what does
Mhm.
that even mean? What even is authenticity?
I mean, I guess the most basic I could say is, being one's true self.
Hmm.
I but what is that? Like, what is one's true self? I can't say that I figured it out,
Dang it.
but
well,
I
bye.
feel
Just
like
kidding.
yeah, and podcast is over. Thanks, Lizzie, for not shedding any light on this. No, I feel like I've like finding my authentic self is very new to me right now. And it's just very much a new development. I think growing up in the music industry, it's all about you need to know who you are. You need
Oh,
to sing
yeah.
about things that you need like your brand, your image, everything you need to know who you are. And then especially at a very young age when you're still trying to figure out who you are. So I think the idea of who I was supposed to be and understanding who I was drilled in at a very, very early age.
Mm,
And I don't think I ever really had an opportunity to figure out who I am or who my true
Mm,
self is. And so I guess my journey with being authentic is trying to figure out all the things that scare me. And I
mhm,
feel like they're holding me back from the happiness that I want in life. And I go full force at that. And I
mm,
figure out why am I afraid of these things? What is holding me back? And then I try to fix and correct those things in
mm.
myself and
Yeah.
repair those things so that I don't have that fear anymore. Because the less fear I have, the more I feel like my true self.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
mm.
So, cuz yeah, what is that like? Most of us are allowed to grow up without a label
Mhm.
and without, kind of a
Literally,
yeah, like
and yeah, uh,
literally a music label being like, "Hey, so this is what we're wanting." Like most of us have that luxury of being able to do that, but you didn't. I would imagine being with a label. What age were you when you were signed the first time?
So I never ended up being with a label.
Okay.
Almost, almost, and that's a whole other wild roller coaster too of that little situation. But, my first company was a publishing management company, and my second was a publishing company, and
Okay.
the first one was, like, super artist focused, and the
Mhm.
second one, I was a staff writer for Universal. So the first company was called Major Bob Music, and they're still going strong. They're an indie publishing company, publishing management company. And then the second, Universal, which we kind of, all know, but
Mm,
and then I was a staff writer for them. So, but both again, you really needed to know your identity,
right?
and and I think there's a lot of pressure as a songwriter too to know your identity. I mean, the artist side, you've got your looks and your image and your brand and your sound, and you've got so much in the front. But as a songwriter, I felt like there was a lot of pressure and a lot of comparison. So
Mm,
anytime, a song would come out or there was a new artist in town that was doing something, they would pull me in and be like, listen to this, like do something like this. And
Mm.
so if you wanna talk about
oh
trying
boy.
to deny your authentic self of something that you really wanna create and you really wanna do and you're passionate about versus, "If I don't create this music, am I gonna have a job next year? Am I gonna have a job next month?"
Yeah.
So, um, and I do know part of that's playing the game and you have to do it, and then there's another part of it that kinda sucks your creative soul out because it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you were young when you got into this industry. Tell me about what it felt like in your body, if you can remember, when you had experiences that made you live outside of who you knew you were.
I think, like, one of the big things was being a female in the industry, and at that time, and I had really gotten into recording and engineering and producing all of my own music, and so I feel like not only the comparison to males and who were doing that, but constantly, I was a singer, I was a musician, I was a producer and engineer, and I was a songwriter. Those
Mm.
were all the things, and I felt like I couldn't be one without the other. Those were all intricate puzzle pieces to who I was. And I felt like every time I let somebody else record something or do something, they would try to put me into the box that they wanted me to be in. So, at the time, Taylor Swift was really blowing up. And so the minute I walked into a room, I was blonde haired, blue eyed. I was a year younger
Mm,
than her. And it was like, oh, you're going to sing Taylor Swift songs. And I was like, no, 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 that's
mm.
not what I'm gonna sing about. Because I never went to high school. I didn't have really any friends my age, like, I had none of those experiences whatsoever, so my songs were more mature, were darker, so, it just kept getting put into all these little boxes and all these little compartments, and it was interesting kind of watching the parallel the more I got into production and I just kept being told, "Well, you need to pick a lane. You can't do all of them. You need to pick a
Ah,
lane."
your niche.
But but here I am watching males right alongside of me get to do all of it. So
Mhm.
Mm.
why do I have to sacrifice one of those things? And I'm watching males run right alongside of me. And it's crazy because back then I didn't see it that way. I just saw
Mm.
it as I need to pick a lane. I need to give something up. I need to give something up.
And, like, what's wrong with me if I can't figure this out, kind of,
Yeah.
right? Because 'Cause you're made to believe that, like, you're something's wrong with you if you can't figure out this one thing you should do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the problem was I really felt like it was something wrong with me. Like I really felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't
Mm.
working hard enough.
Mm.
I wasn't sacrificing enough to do these things.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so I don't think I really ever had a chance to really know who I wanted to be because I think the moment that I tried to go that direction, I was pulled back and I was
Mm.
told, no, 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 no.
But of course, I mean, like, why wouldn't we trust these systems, right? The music industry, these music executives, they're the experts. I'm doing air quotes, finger air quotes right now. They're the experts. Why wouldn't I believe them? Or, if you happen to grow up in a high control religion situation like some of us did, why wouldn't I believe them? They're the experts. Or they are speaking for God and God told them this. So it's like
Yeah.
it really is so hard to, especially when you're young, especially when you're female and socialize as female, you are socialized to trust what the men are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it really does take a concerted effort to notice what's happening and to say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good in my body. I'm not going to do that."
Mm. Yeah, from your brain was still mushy. You were
Yeah.
18 at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And just as a side note, I write and am a singer, and that's my whole life. And I remember like 8, 9 years ago, because I had a child, as I mentioned, through like they were older. So I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to some people, see what I have to do. And this was the rhetoric. And I remember getting so pissed that they just kept being like, who are you? What do you want? What are you saying? What are the? And I was like, I'm a human who's writing, and I do have a pretty clear identity as a writer if you like listen to my music. But it was like, you have to pick. What is it? Is it this? Who are you like? Who? And I'm like, uh, yeah. So just
Yeah.
echoing the same,
Right.
a bunch
Yeah.
of dudes telling me I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And it made me immediately say, I don't know,
Mhm.
instead of being like, it's this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy making.
Yep.
Yeah. I even feel like to this day, I don't know if I could tell you like what my music is and who I am. Like I'm not, I remember I was in a meeting and somebody said, "Well, you need to be like Tide detergent. You need to be packaged." And I'm like, "I'm not Tide detergent. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
I
You
can't."
need to be like a object on a
Yeah.
shelf for people's consumption
Yeah.
is what
You
that
need to be
was.
like Tide
Oh,
detergent. Yeah. So I
I'm so sorry.
Oh, like, the thing is, everything that happened made me who I am, and I'm really proud of the girl that stuck it out and kept going, because there was one moment that I think there were moments where, like, who I truly was, like, peaked out, and she was
Mm.
like, and I remember I was 18, maybe 19, and one of my publishers at the time told me that I needed to get a fake ID. And I was like, "Why do I need
Wow.
a fake ID?" And he was like, "Well, you gotta go out. Like, you gotta go to the bars and go out and you need to socialize." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not old enough to get in to."
And sir, that's illegal.
Yeah, like, I
So,
can't.
like, the music industry has corrupt men telling people to act like they're older to go drink and like do
Yeah.
what?
What?
Oh,
So,
like
I
firsthand
yeah.
experience with some. Never mind.
Mm,
Okay, sorry.
so
Anyway,
yeah,
hmm.
so I remember sitting there and I said, "I just don't really feel comfortable with that." And he was like, "Well, the only way you're gonna make it in this industry is if you get out and socialize, and I'm just giving you a tip." And
Oh
I
my gosh.
looked at him and I said, "Well, I'm just gonna figure out another way to make it." And that was something that I really stuck to my
Mm,
whole career, was like my morals always stayed. They
mm,
never, if somebody did something that wasn't kind, I didn't turn around and do something unkind to them. I always kept business business and personal personal, and I really always tried to be nice, cuz I I always used to say that if I ever leave this town, I want people to say that Lizzy McAvoy was a really nice person and she wrote
mm,
some really good songs. And that's what I wanted. And so I knew the moment when I started to get bitter and I started to not love music and I felt like I was going to cross that moral line of not being the kind person that I wanted to be. That's when I stepped out. That's when I
Mm.
made sure that
mm.
I took a step back and I thought, "Okay, like, I've made it this long and it's been going pretty good, so I just need to take a step back and think about this." And,
Yeah.
I'm glad I did, but that for sure was, like, a portion of, like, who I am to this day, that I that part of me will never go away. I will always be that person.
And
So,
that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. I, you said something that was really interesting to me. You said that somebody told you if you ever want to make it in this industry,
Mhm.
dot, dot, dot.
Yeah.
And I kind of think if anyone, and I don't know for sure, but this is just me postulating. If anyone says that to you, I kind of think don't believe them.
Mm.
Because I mean, people made it in the industry. So many people have made it in their respective industries because they broke the rules. And despite, not because of, but despite. And you may be doing something different than anyone's ever done. I kind of am like to me, that seems like a red flag when somebody says that to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't every time I somebody said something like that to me, I don't feel like it ever was with a maybe the kindest heart or
Yeah,
with the most sincere,
totally.
intentions.
So, and this is a
Mhm.
question for all of us
Yeah.
in this room. Um, how do we know? Like, what are the signs, um, whether outside signs or inside signs, that we're living outside of who we know ourselves to be? Like, how do you know that?
I mean, I would say mine is fear. Like,
Okay.
just if I'm afraid of, I feel afraid, or if a interaction happens, I guess maybe like the best example would be, I think like if I were to meet somebody or I would hang out, if I were to go and hang out with you guys and I would leave and then I'd just be questioning the whole, like, did they like me? Did that go
Mm,
well? Do I
mhm.
think
Mm.
that, like did I talk too much? Did I do this? Did I do that wrong? Did I do, like, questioning all of it versus I feel like being like, "No, no, no, I actually am really confident in myself." And kinda like if they don't like who I am, I don't really
Mm,
have anything else to give. This
yep.
is
Mm.
it. This is all I am, like, I can't
Yeah.
change this. And, I know I was plagued with that a lot, like, especially in the music industry and especially in my career of being like, "Did they like me? Did I write?
Mm.
Did I come with enough ideas? Was I at my best that day? Will they
Mhm.
write with me again?" Versus being like, "You know what? I was the best that I could be that day. I'm confident in my abilities, and if they don't wanna write or they don't wanna work with me again, then I can't do anything about that."
Yeah.
Mm. Mhm.
What about you, Emily? What gives you the warning sign, the red flag that you're not living like Emily?
Um, I could say in this context, I have had interactions where people try to they say things to try to make me smaller.
Hmm.
So that's how I know maybe I'm not in this is more specific, I guess, an answer than the question, but to say like how am I if I'm in a situation and I'm trying to collaborate with people, I've gotten comments that are like don't say like don't joke about this thing in this because that's not what we're going for. You need to be a lot more subdued. Like
Mm.
I've had a lot of people say, "Well, you're making me feel like I'm not doing a good job." But I didn't say anything. They're just being like, "You should like come down, you know?"
Ew, that sounds like a them problem.
But
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
so we're so quick with our cheek balls to be like, "Okay, sorry." Like,
Yeah.
so for me now at 40, I'm like, "Oh, that's not because I did something. It's because 'cause I'm just existing
Yep.
and that me being myself in this environment is not jiving with you." And that doesn't even have to make them bad. It just
Mhm.
means that this situation is going to make me feel like I have to be someone other than myself in order to be here. Um, And it's not that we won't have self-doubt, right? Or fear, because you were saying too, like push into fear. But if the people around you are saying statements to you, like to me, that make me feel like I have to diminish myself, that means I'm not going to be able to grow. I'm going to hit my head on that glass ceiling,
Right.
I guess.
Well,
Like,
yeah, just like our very first episode of this podcast that we ever recorded, I think we talked about how we're not for everybody. Like, and I'm not just talking about us, I'm talking about everyone. Like Taylor Swift, like what you were talking about. Like, I'm sure people were falling all over her and asking for you to be like as much like her as you could be.
mhm.
But there are people who don't like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
There are people who don't like Lizzo and Beyonce and all of these people that we've kind of put up there on the pedestal as best. And so understanding that, I think, helps us really ground in our creative identity. We can't please everyone, so why should we try? Might as well just do the thing that we know the best, which is to be who we are.
Mhm. And if we're in environments where someone is saying you should be like Taylor Swift, well, then I should not be in this room because that is
No.
not who I am. And that's okay. You're looking for this. You need a Tide Pod. I'm not your Tide Pod, and
No.
that's okay.
I'm
You
not
Yeah.
your
know?
guide.
And no.
What about you,
Absolutely.
Carrie?
Well, I had a scenario happen the other day on Substack. So there's this website/app called Substack, and I write on it. Don't worry, I'll put the link in the show notes so you
And you
can go
have to listen.
read.
You have to
Oh,
listen
well,
to it.
you don't have
Listen.
to, but I will
Listen's better
definitely.
even than
Oh,
reading.
yes,
Sorry.
I
Just
do read, all of my own all my stuff on Substack, so if you prefer to listen instead of read, I got you. But I'm trying to break into Substack more because I love writing and I want to create more of a listenership or a readership around what I write. And there are so many people on Substack that are like, this is how you do this. This is how you get big. This is how you do. And a lot of it feels really inauthentic to me. It's like you should be doing blah, 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 and you should be offering blah, blah. And I feel it in my body when I am betraying her. And to be fair, I don't do it very well all the time. I am definitely in therapy to become more embodied because it's something I am learning to be. It doesn't come naturally because probably how we grew up. But yeah, I felt it and I was like, sure, I could maybe expedite this process of getting paid subscribers, but to what end? Like it doesn't feel authentic. I would rather grow slowly but authentically than grow fast and feel like I betrayed myself and that I'm not who I say that I am.
so when you say for you, it's like a physical thing that you
Yeah.
feel. What do you feel?
Well, I mean, aren't all they are sensations in our bodies? It feels like, I mean, I don't know. Lizzie, have you ever had this where it's like s- somebody is asking you to do something and you're like inside it's immediate. No, 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 no. Repeat, repeat, repeat over and over and over again. Please don't make me do that. Please don't make me do that. Not the person, to myself. Please don't make myself do that.
Mm-hmm.
And instead I say, "Oh yeah, that'd be great. Oh my gosh, yes." I have just betrayed myself. That is a feeling. And I think people feel it in different places, like the pit of your stomach. Some people feel it like hot all over, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie, where do you feel that feeling?
I feel it I'm a chest feeler.
Same.
That's weird.
Chest. It's because you guys are
Um,
both Italian. That's why.
that's
Yeah,
it,
we're
yeah.
You
Using our
Italians feel it in the
hands.
it's
chest.
Achida.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like I feel hollow. I feel like
Oh.
just this sort of little empty spot
Mm.
where, like, everything just feels like it's caving in a little bit because there is, like, this space. I feel hollow. And I think, like, the biggest feeling I feel is mostly disappointment in myself
Mm.
because I, you know, either, let's just say gave up on the dream. That's a very broad statement, but in the moment, it's really hard and it feels disappointing. So I feel very hollow on the inside.
Mm.
And,
Mm.
um, I think I have to be that I used to fill with a lot of, um, projects or, I would clean, like mass clean. I'd fill that space with something that would give me that gratification of, oh, I completed a task. I did something and now I don't feel as hollow anymore. But now I'm very aware when that happens. And then I'm like, okay, don't go fill it. Sit with it
Mm.
and figure out how to not do it again, which
Yeah.
there's a lot of power in saying no. And that
Yes.
is a word that my sweet little cheek ball Midwest self really struggles with. So
No is a
my
full sentence.
yes, so I haven't gotten brave enough to just come out and say no yet. So I usually say, now I'm giving it away. Now people are gonna know that this is if I say this. Dang
Yeah.
it. Um, I'll think about it.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
That's like
Yes.
my
I'll think
Midwest
about
way of
it.
getting around to I'll think about it. And then I give myself enough time and my little anxious self to be like, okay, this is new, uncharted territory, Lizzie, but we're gonna be brave enough. Then I figure out how to say the polite no.
Right.
So I'm not right in the moment yet. I'm getting there. But yeah, I'll think about it.
I like that because the requests feel like they come so fast.
Mhm.
Can you do this? Do you da da da
Yeah.
da da da? Like,
Yeah.
there's not time for me to process, "Oh, shit, I don't wanna do that. Oh, but, da da da, but then da da da, oh, come up with the polite response." There's no time.
Mm.
So what you're saying then is give yourself the gift of that kind of prescriptive answer, "I'll think about it." That
Yes.
gives you the
Time.
time that you can then go back, figure it out, and then
Mhm.
give the polite
Yeah.
response. Yeah.
And I think too, speaking of like your authentic self, I have really found that the more I have discovered who I think I am, the more I've figured that out. I think that I have been able to know when something comes up that I don't feel comfortable with,
Mhm.
or it's an opportunity that I'm just not passionate about it. I I feel like now I know these signals. I know that it's not gonna make me feel great. Like, if I say
Mhm.
yes to it, if I go along with it, it's not gonna make me feel good. Well, I don't wanna not feel good anymore. I'm kinda over
Mhm.
that. I know that's a silly comment, but I wanna feel good all the time. I
It's not
wanna
silly at all.
like,
No.
I don't wanna be anxious anymore. I wanna feel good about my decisions, and I don't have a lot of time. So my time, I wanna fill it up with good people, good things. So I think more of my authentic self is the one that's pushing in the background being like, "No, Lizzie. No, no, no.
Mhm.
Say
Yeah.
no."
Yeah.
So my therapist taught me this. You can always be honest and you can always say, I'm not sure.
Mm.
And then I've tagged on, "I'm not sure. Let me think about it."
Yeah.
So, I think it's this, she's like, "It's always okay to be honest if you're on the fence about something, or you're
Mhm.
just truly not sure in that moment how you wanna respond. It's okay to tell people that you need time." And I don't that was like a mind-blowing experience for me to be able to tell people that I need time. I
Mhm.
that's wild. I know that's crazy, but that was, like, a big thing for me in my 30s of being
That's a
like, "I
huge thing.
need time."
Yeah, seriously, that is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we've talked about how we know that when something is inauthentic to us. What are the signals that our bodies give us when it is a hit for us? Meaning, yes, this is 100% us. What do
The
you
hell
feel?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go first?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just jumping right in there.
Get it.
Do it.
I think, for me, it's, not feeling tired, like, not being exhausted by an experience. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
if I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. And this has been like my new thing is that um I feel so lucky to have all the friendships that I have in my life. And I continually keep meeting new wonderful people. Um like you, Carrie. And
Well,
Emily, I'm just
hey.
putting you in there. But I
Thanks.
yeah. My Midwest self just couldn't help it. Just include everybody. But no, I
Emily,
feel
I'm gonna think about it. I'm just kidding.
yes.
I'm not sure.
It feels empowering though, right? Um,
Yes.
but you know, I just think about all these like amazing people. And when I go and hang out with all my friends, my friendship meter is so full. Like I leave and I feel like I was myself. Like
Mm,
there were no barriers. I just was my loud, wild, uncaged self. And I've found these people that it's just great to be around them. And but then that transfers into life. It transfers into work. It transfers into my music. And I'm not tired. I feel so fulfilled in these
mhm,
things. And it's I think because I'm just doing exactly what I want to do.
mm,
There's no restrictions to it. So I feel like all of my life meter, my fun meter, happiness meter, it's full. And when I start to see that go down, that's when I readdress and I wonder, where am I denying myself
mm,
these things? And why am I denying myself these things?
mhm,
And sometimes it's just a season in life that I just have to get through because it's just not great. And I just have to get through those things.
mhm.
Um, but I figure out and then I just try to get the meter back up.
Yeah.
And that's like a new thing for me is like being really aware of where my feelings are at and how I feel.
Yes. Yes. Being aware of where your feelings are at. Yep. Sometimes we're not even aware. That's, yeah. What about you, Emily?
Ooh. What about you, Carrie? I need to come
Oh,
back.
okay. Okay. So I'm learning, like I said, this embodiment thing. And so sometimes I don't even know how I feel, um, which is really confusing. And so I am using my body, as a way of pointing me back to myself. So I'll ask my body, yeah, how do we feel about this? Sometimes it
Mm.
doesn't know either, but sometimes it's like, yeah, let's go over here. Or no, I don't want to do that. So I'm the type of person that I get very excited about any idea that I like. And I am like jumping up and down, like, yeah, and then we're gonna, and I get so excited. And I would say that's how I know that something's right, except that I am a human being and I am finite and my energies are finite. So what I've learned, and this has only been in the past like couple of years that I've learned this, is that I still, even when I'm saying, absolutely, yes, let's do this, if I will say, I need to think about it. And then I take some time to process, okay, sure, maybe this is a great idea and maybe you're all about it, but like, do you have the time and energy to do this right now? And maybe it's like a hell yeah, but not now type of a thing. Maybe it's a hell yeah. And maybe it is a right now, but I have to sit with it and process and figure all these things out. And then if I sit with it and after a day or two, I'm still like jumping up and down, like, hell
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then if I still feel that way after enough time has passed and I've processed it, it's a go for me. That's how I know that it
Mm.
feels authentic, is when I get excited and I also have the time to do it.
Mhm.
What about you, Emily?
I'm back. So I'm just gonna take your answers and no. But actually, I really
You
do
can.
agree. I think it's I like the I'm not tired after,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and so I am a very anxious gal, and I sometimes have a hard time telling if I'm just being anxious, and that's why I'm not enjoying it. So it takes some reps for me. So for me, it's like shows or a co-writing person or a student or whatever. And if I'm leaving going like, then I have to sometimes be like, okay, am I holding on to something? And, maybe it's, I think I am being too responsible for something that's not my responsibility. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked with this, but I do think it's relevant. Um, Sometimes it's just every time I leave this thing, I am more energized. But sometimes my mind plays tricks on me and I'm like, oh my God, that was so stressful. But then I realize that I've been worrying because I do care a lot about that thing. So I have to learn to let go of it. Sometimes it takes a few reps before I realize, oh, I'm just worried, but I actually am leaving this energized. Versus I've looked at it. This is not because I needed to let go. This is because this is draining me and it's not good for me. Even sometimes, again, like a student, a band, some kind of creative scenario. But when I leave, like you said, Lizzie, I don't feel tired. I feel like, oh yeah. Or if I do feel tired, it feels like Carrie, like that. Yeah, yeah. But I'm still like, shit, it's it still takes energy. But yeah, I think that really is a good gauge that I am
Mhm.
better after than I was when I went in.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just to add to it, I feel like that I think being your authentic self is easy. And I know that sounds
Mm.
crazy because I think the journey to finding one's authentic self is really hard. And I think it
Mm.
really pushes ourselves as human beings and individuals. But I think, first of all, I think that's life. I think if we're not continuing to grow as human beings, if we're not challenging ourselves, we're not living life to the fullest. We're not reaching our fullest potential.
Mm.
Um, if we think that we know everything, that's we've missed out on life. That's my opinion. I know I'm young, but that's my opinion. So I think the journey to finding our authentic self is forever. It's always continual because as human beings, we're growing and we're changing. But I think those times when we embrace our authentic self and we sit in these moments when last night I was hanging out with two really good friends and I'm sitting in this moment where I'm 100% myself. Nothing about who I am in that moment is fake. There's
Mhm.
no anxiety at the table. There's no sad Lizzie, upset Lizzie, over analyzing Lizzie, nothing. Authentic Lizzie is sitting there. It's so easy. I am not playing a
Mm.
part and I'm not pretending to be anything but myself. Did it take a lot of therapy to get to there? Yes. And like the next morning I wake up, does she like magic authentic Lizzie disappear? Yeah, sometimes. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to participate in life today." Yes.
Mm.
But I never realized how easy it was to be who I
Mm.
really am truly meant to be. And when I figured that out, I really felt like I cracked the code on life and happiness.
Mm.
That's magic. Yeah, we do tend to make it hard. But really, what an interesting reframe that actually being our authentic selves is easy. Maybe we just need to let ourselves just
Mm.
allow, like not
Yeah.
put anything on there, just unleash.
Yeah. But it's
Hmm.
hard, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because as human beings, we want to be accepted, we want to be
Right.
loved, we want people to notice us. And it's easy. And I think the music industry taught me this. It is very easy when somebody dislikes the fake version that you're showing them because you
Mm-hmm.
can go home and you can figure out another version of yourself. Doesn't hurt. If they don't, but if you go out into the world and you give somebody exactly who you are 100% and they don't like that,
Oh,
it hurts.
sure.
Mm.
But I would challenge it to say, "Yeah, it hurts." But from my experience, I can't give you any more. So we're just
Mm.
not meant to collaborate together. We're not meant to work together. We're not meant to be friends because I can't give you any other version of myself. And I think the
Mm.
fake versions that we think don't hurt as much actually ultimately hurt us the most.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yep, absolutely. Ugh,
Oh, damn. Just
yes.
speaking some truth over here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming by,
Oh,
Lizzy,
thanks
and
for
talking
having
to
me.
us. We just appreciate you coming by and also you too, dear listener. Thank you for coming by and spending some time with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Honestly, dear listener.